Hi guys, I'm Nate from Good Man Racing. This is the 4Runner that we are going to race the Baja 1000 in, and this is my bash bar. It is the item I want someone else to run into. It is my rear bumper. It is the lifesaver for the spare tire, for the fuel cell behind it, and all of the kit between us and the impact. So this is removable. It has 6 mounts that you can disconnect. 3 on this side, 3 on this side. 4 of them are those interlocking clamps that use bolts to connect them. 2 of them are not even done yet because they are plate on plate with bolts going through. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to drill those yet. I want to do that tomorrow. However, I need to get this thing painted so then my oil on my skin stops rusting the roll cage. So, well, not roll cage, bash bar, sorry. Roll cage has been long done. I'm going to take the bash bar out now. I actually haven't done that yet in its completed state. All of the welding is done until Steve tells me to weld somewhere else, or Colin or other pro race car guys. When they say weld here, I'll do it at that point. But for what I have right now, this is very nice. Before I take it off, let me show you a couple of things that you should be familiar with concerning welding, fabrication of tubing like this. Okay. So, I'm gonna drop you right here, bring you down. Okay. So with fabrication of roll cages, you need strength, but welding does not give you the strength you really need. With off-road racing, with any kind of racing, the shape of it is what matters. So what you are looking for with fabrication of any type of accessory for your car, you don't just want some random tube looking like a headache bar on the back of a pickup truck. You need to have it reinforced in a way that allows it to transfer that load from one tube to another. With the bash bar, ideally this thing crinkles before the rest of the roll cage does. The cheap way to do that is to have this made out of a thinner tube than the roll cage, and unfortunately none of the thinner tubes were actually available. So I actually did use spec thickness tubing for the bash bar. The thing that is different though is the size. So the actual spec roll cage is 2 inches diameter, 120 wall. So the actual tubes it's mating to in there are much beefier than the tubing of the bash bar, because this is 1 3/4 OD and this is 1 1/2. This right here is 2 inch, so you can physically see the size difference between this tube and this one right here. This was an original bumper setup that I welded at the end of the whole roll cage session, and I was able to salvage it for this project here. You see how this tube, this one, and this one all intersect? We call this cluster of weldment a node. This is kind of a node, but it's really only 2 tubes connected together. This is solidly a node. That is a node, that is a node, that is a node, that is a node, and there's nodes back there, and then there's a whole bunch of nodes in the roll cage. But that's a conversation for later. Let's talk about the nodes you see on this bash bar. So, yes, okay. You see 3 nodes here. This node has 1 tube, 2, 3, 4 tubes coming out of it. That node has 3 tubes. This node has 4 tubes. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Whenever you have an impact, the goal is to hit it, and then that gets transferred and diffused, dispersed across your structure. So your welds might be nice and thick, but really, so long as you've got the right shape, that is what you want to have good, strong car parts. Now, I needed to have a gap here. So the actual hoop around the spare tire is a single piece. And then the hoop that goes underneath is also a single piece. Notice how there are no tubes intersecting the bottom portion of the mount right here. There's no tubes in this zone. It's much like the spare tire up above. I want this to crumple in with a hard enough hit. So even though I have a node here, I want this area to flex and collapse inwards. This, I really don't want it to move because when someone hits it, it's going to transfer all that energy into the body. And yeah, even though this is going to disappear, at least it will salvage more of the body than what it would if it had been not there at all. But this node is exceptionally strong because this tube right here actually transfers to the base mount of the roll cage. Yeah, you can actually see it right there. That is where the roll cage terminates into the truck on a boxed end on the frame. So that is exceptionally strong compared to everything you see here. This is duplicated on that opposite side. And you can see the connections here. That right there is the connector. It's got a screw that goes in, a screw that goes down. There was another one on those lower tubes, and this here is the 6th mount. Again, I'm trying to let this area be the thing that flexes and bends before everything else, so this I did not gusset. That was on purpose, but I do need to mount it. This hole doesn't line up with this fixturing hole, so that was really lazy on my part. I should have done that after all of the welding was done, not before, but that needs to be done on this side. And then the same thing needs to happen on the passenger side. That hole needs to be re-drilled, but all of the welding is done. So, what does it look like to get the spare tire off? Simple. The Y strap, that's not here yet. And these bolts will no longer be there. Let me get an impact. I'm going to weld a hub-like structure on the tire's mount so it didn't slide off like you just saw. Flat tire, no air to work with. This is loose, we'll tighten that down later. But this is what the structure looks like behind the bash bar. There's the fuel cell. There's the bash bar doing its thing. That tube is also removable. That way we can service the fuel cell. Everything forward is welded in very permanently. That's not coming out without some grinding magic. So, let's get this off. The tubing connectors take 1/4-inch heads. They're 1/4-inch bolts. I can get to 6 of, or I can get to 1, 2, 3, 6 of the bolts with a electric tool, driver, drill. 2 of them I can't. 1. 2. 5. 6. Now for those remaining 2 bolts that you have to get out with an Allen key or a more complicated tool. Guess you could use a right angle kit to get into here. That's a lot of stuff. Okay, that one's finally loose. Maybe I do want that right angle cubby. Oh, this is miserable. I mean, it could be a lot worse, but. Yeah, this is crying for a ratchet. I'm gonna get one. Quarter-inch ratchet. Okay, that one's out. 7. Last but certainly not least, Mr. 8. This is coming out way easier than that other side. Okay, all 8 of them are out. Okay, we lose. Okay. And there it is. There's the bash bar in all of its glory. Count the tubes. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and a half. I mean, there is multiple tubes going on in there as an extra reinforcement. So let's call it 14. 14 tubes to fabricate up this assembly. These are the connectors. Those are the flat plates. And that will allow us to work on this truck and rebuild this once it gets bashed in. So, all 80 or 90 pounds worth of glory right here. I am Nate from Goodman Racing. I will see you out in the desert, if not my garage, and we're gonna paint this thing red. Looking forward to it. Laters.